Hello everyone, Bobbun here. It has been a long time since I posted anything to my channel, but I have decided to make an attempt at a new series here, and it's going to be in Factorio this time, which is actually one of my favorite games. Uh, it's been a little while actually since I played Minecraft, but Factorio is one of the games that I played even while I was still playing Minecraft. And so I wanted to go ahead and do something in this game. Now, we're going to be playing a very hard mod pack, and I don't anticipate making it all the way to the end, but I'll certainly play until I sort of get just frustrated with it. It does happen. The mod pack we're playing is C Block, and I've actually extended it a little bit. I've added a few things. There will be a complete mod list posted in the summary for this video. So if you want to see what's in it, go ahead and look down below. Some of the mods are just quality of life. There are a few of them that do make it a little bit easier. Not drastically so, but especially in the early game, there are a couple that do make a difference. So let's get started, and I will explain what this mod pack is about as we go along here. So we're going to play, we're going to start a new game, and really most of the settings I'm going to use the defaults. There are no resources on the map, so you don't have to worry too much about that. It's a little laughable that you can choose the size of the water and the frequency because it's all water except for a little spot that you start on. The advanced settings are the ones that are of interest to me here. I am going to turn off pollution and enemy expansion because they really have no significant function in this particular scenario. Pollution, I suppose, could drive the evolution of the aliens, but the aliens are really, they're just like on scattered islands, and they're almost pointless except as a source of certain resources. So really they can't go and attack your base unexpectedly for the most part. It's usually just worms anyway. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to turn those off so that the system doesn't waste any processing power on them because they really have no function at all here. So let's go ahead and generate a new map and see what we got. Alright, so we are on a tiny little island in the middle of the ocean with a rock that is actually a chest. It's got a lot of stuff in it there, and we'll go ahead and break that and pick up all the stuff. Alright, so we got a big area here with nothing. There are a few little islands. One of the mods that I added was long reach, and because I added long reach, I can actually pick up like this desert garden here from anywhere on the map. And I mean, that's fine. If you didn't have long reach installed, you'd have to build land over to those, but those aren't very far. One of the things to sort of emphasize on this is it's intended to be a lot like a sky block in Minecraft. It is much harder than any sky block I ever played in Minecraft. However, one of the things that happens with this, you're building your land with landfill, and they start you with 1,000, and so I'll set that up in a minute. But one of the things that you might imagine with this mod pack, if you've never played it before, is that land sort of comes at a premium and you have to spend a lot of resources to get it. And that is sort of true at the beginning of the game, but as time goes by, the amount of resources to build new land is really quite trivial compared to all the other stuff that you're having to do. So I don't think it's really fair to say that land is a huge problem. It's a little bit of one. Alright, so one of the things that you can do in this version of C Block, if you've played C Block in one of the prior versions, especially if you played in the 0.15 version, you started with a bunch of wood pellets to use as fuel, and if you messed up and didn't use them properly, then you were kind of out of luck. Here, they've changed it a little bit. You can actually craft any number of wooden pellets you like. It's just a very slow process. I am going to go ahead and get some of that started because we're going to need some of this fuel, and it might as well be started while we're running around placing land and windmills and stuff. In the previous version you got solar, this time you get windmills. Power is still a huge issue at the beginning of the game, but let's go ahead and get started laying some of this out. Now, if you've never played it before, you may be wondering, well, how should I lay out my land? Can I mess that up? You can mess it up if you build like some long, skinny strip. For the most part, anything that's kind of squarish is fine. I usually go like 25 by 40. You got 1,000, so that comes out to 1,000. If you wanted to try and get a perfect square, you're not quite going to have enough to go for a 32 by 32 square. But let's go ahead and start laying this out. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a 5 by 5 block. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And I'll just take and extend this in the upward direction. Wow, that's kind of loud. And I might as well catch this bit of land here. If you run your landfill over existing land, it will change the texture, but it doesn't use the resources. It did use a little bit of resources there, but that was because there was area that was not land. Now, if it's a different land type, it will actually use up the resources. So you got to be using some sort of desert here to avoid using it up. Alright, so there's our roughly square area here. Let's go ahead and place our windmills. We do have some power poles here to connect them up. So let me get those too. And we'll just start here at the corner and go all the way down as far as we can go anyway. And put the power poles to give us coverage on them. Alright, and the next row. Now, like I said, in the previous version they gave you solar, now you're getting windmills. The difference really is that the windmills, they kind of, they work day and night, but they're just variable all the time. Is that right? Yeah. Got to be careful where these land, because you do want to make sure you get them all, but you don't want to use any extras if you don't have to. Oh boy. What happened there? Did I... Oh, I messed that up altogether. So, just a little bit about my style when I play Factorio. You will occasionally see me calculate some ratios. I don't want to say I never do it, but I'm a pretty lazy player in that regard, and you're gonna find if you thought that playing C block required that you calculate everything down to the tiniest bit, but that really isn't the case. It is helpful. There's no doubt about that. But you can be a little bit more sloppy than that about it if you are not that diligent. So that will be amply demonstrated before we're done here. To be clear though, that is not the fastest way to play by any means. I expect my progression will be pretty slow. Some of that's just me. I don't actually obsess over getting things done quickly, and so they don't get done quickly. Alright, is that all the windmills? Yes. And there are 120 of them to start. Okay. So, the next thing to do is do something with all this power we've set up. And in this version of C Block, they have gone and in the tech tree, they've started you out with some basic text to research first. There are 4 of them that I'd like to go ahead and get through before the end of the episode. This probably will be a slightly long episode, but the first one is to crush some stereotype, and we don't actually have to activate this. It will go off automatically as soon as we crush some stereotype. And to do that, we do have to set up some basic mining operations here. Obviously, there's nothing to mine. Everything comes from seawater. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to set up the necessary tools for what we're supposed to be doing. Oh, I love how they give you these lamps. One of the mods that I have installed is Afraid of the Dark, which makes the lighting a little bit higher. That'll make the video actually viewable. Power is such a huge problem in this game that I would just, even though they're only 5 kilowatts a piece, I can't bring myself to set down lights right away because it's just so awful on the power to begin with. Alright, so let's set up some electrolyzers. I'm just going to set up 2 of them. These things are huge power hogs, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have to craft them. Then, they're going to create slag from dealing with seawater. I also need to exhaust some stuff that they create that I can't use, some oxygen and some hydrogen. For now, I'm just going to throw it away, and to do that, I'll need flare stacks, and I'll need 2 of those. And once I have the stuff out of there, I'm going to be getting slag, and I'm going to crush it into crushed stone. I have a burner ore crusher that will do that, so I don't need to create anything to do that. Then, once it's been crushed into stone, I have to take and make stereotype using a crystallizer. And what it's actually going to be crystallizing is mineral water, and or mineralized water, I think is what it's called. In order to make that, I've got to use a liquefier, so I'm going to have to craft one of those. And then to crystallize it up, I'm going to have to use a crystallizer. So there's one of those. Alright, so I'm going to go back when I get done with all that, and I'm going to be crafting some more fuel. So let me just go ahead and click on the fuel a little bit more, but I'll terminate these that are in progress so that we can get started on building those things. Oh, I'm also going to need a water pump, I guess. So I'll go ahead and terminate these as well and pick the water pump. I gotta get some water out of the ocean. Alright. Alright, so there's our first electrolyzer, and we'll just put it down here somewhere. I think maybe the best place to put it just a little bit further down so that I will have some space for my flare stacks. Then we'll go ahead and put the water pump there, and we'll use some of these stone pipes that we were generously provided in order to get that in there. And I'm going to set up a little piping here. If you've never played Factorio at all, then I should probably go ahead and tell you first that this is an advanced playthrough, and it is not representative of the vanilla game, so you shouldn't infer that Factorio is some incredibly hard game that most people can't do. That's not really true. But you should also probably realize that this is not going to be what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, this is not going to be just incredibly easy at all, but it's not necessarily representative of the game as a whole. I mean, I've already said that, but that's what I wanted to say. Alright, so alright, this is going to be a little ugly, but we'll get it in there. Alright. So let's connect up some power, and we'll set the recipe on these. They are dirt water electrolysis. We'll just set them both up to do that, and I will put this thing down and crushed stone, and I have some wood pellets to fuel it because I started crafting them early. That's one reason to go ahead and start crafting them. It's very helpful at the beginning of the game to just make sure that you're like always crafting some of these wood pellets or some other thing that needs to be handcrafted just to keep it busy. Let me reveal what all this stuff is doing. Okay, so we'll put that in here, and we're starting to crush some stone. So let's go ahead and get the liquefier set up here, and I'll run some more stone pipes down to it. I'm not going to mess, all this stuff will get torn out, so I'm not going to worry too much about issues with not being able to go through pipes. Among other things, I don't have to worry about that anyway, because one of the mods I have going is squeak through, so you can run through those. But I'm not going to worry about making it look neat either, or saving things by using undergrounds, whatever. I just don't, it's all going to get torn up. So let's go ahead and set this up. Now here, we're going to be making mineralized water, and it's going to get pumped out, and we're going to be making this recipe here for mineralized water crystallization, which makes two different kinds of ore, sapphirite and stereotype, which those of you who have played Bobs and Angels before will know those ores. They're like the two. One is basically iron ore, the other is basically copper, but you can do a lot more with them. Setting up power there. Lots of manual work at this point. So we should be, I guess I have to, let's pull that out of there, and we should be, it's all working, and we're getting some ores. Alright, so to finish our quest, all we got to do is crush some of the stereotype. And we don't have to do it in the machine. I can do it by hand, right here. Well, I mean, I can do it by hand, but I'll have to wait. I'll have to clear these out. So we'll go ahead and start some more of those while we're at it. Okay, so we finished that, and it wants us to go to the next tech. The next one is to grow brown algae in an algae farm. Brown algae can be crafted into alginic acid, which is needed to make wooden boards. We need to craft a basic circuit board, which has a wooden board as one of its ingredients here. So, really, I thought those required. They need cellulose fiber. Do I have any way of? Oh, I can just forage cellulose fiber. Okay, I'm already forgetting things here. So let's go ahead and kill this off. Now, I need brown algae, and that comes from an algae farm. They didn't provide me with one, so I'll have to craft one. And I'm also going to need a hydro plant. Now, the hydro plant requires 5 electronic circuits, and you're given 10 at the beginning. So you're going to have to go ahead and spend 5 of them right now. I will go ahead and tell you, based on my prior experience with this version of this mod pack, that you can do whatever you want with the other 5, but probably the most convenient thing to do is going to be to spend them on another hydro plant. And the reason for that is that having another hydro plant makes it a lot easier to make a closed sulfur cycle a little later on when you go to do your ores. We'll get to that, not this episode, but we will get to it. Just keep in mind that those are a very limited resource at this point. Once you spend those 5, you have to make quite a bit of more progress before you can do anything else that requires circuits. Okay, so I'm going to take and put this hydro plant down. I'm going to get it nice and close, because we're a little short on space. And the reason we have it is we need to do water purification. Now, it turns out that this is making pure water and saline water. And the pure water we have no interest at all in. So let's get rid of it. I'll make a clarifier. And you're probably thinking that I'm burning through all these resources and being rather careless with them. I'm actually not being careless because I know what I need to do. My suggestion would be, if you don't know what you need to do, that you do be a little more careful than I appear to be being. But you should be able to get by. Alright, so the saline is going to go into the algae farm because we need 100 of it for each batch of brown algae we make. So let's go ahead and run these pipes in here. All this stuff needs power. And I temporarily picked up some of my windmills, that's fine. Now, one of the things you can do with the crushed rock that I didn't mention before is you can make more landfill. It's just called sand here because of the sand texture it has. This is from one of the mods that's included with the C block pack. Once you have this up, you'll notice it appears green here. If we hit R, it'll switch to where only areas that are going to go on are going to be green, and we can hit R several times and it'll rotate through a number of different textures. Here, what it's really saying is not that it's going to lay anything new, but that it's going to change the texture. I want to keep the same texture, so I'm going to set that up that way. But we can just put some landfill down like that. And that landfill was made by crushing this slag and crafting. Okay, we got some brown algae. A little bit of this stuff kind of goes a long way in the early game, so I don't need to sit here and wait for it to make all day. Let's just go ahead and pick this stuff up. Because now I need to actually do some crafting with it, and the crafting is going to be to make, I think I gotta make a wooden board, and for that I need paper, and for that I need cellulose pulp. And there's a little bit of a break in the logic here on what you can craft automatically and what you can't. So I'm gonna go ahead and make the cellulose pulp first, and it's going to be a little slow, and then I'll have to handcraft the wooden board when it gets done there. So in the meantime, let me go ahead and set this back up and set it back to there and crush some more of the stone. And I'm going to do a little bit of a cut here so that you don't have to stand around and watch me do nothing while I wait for this crafting to finish. Okay, my cellulose pulp just finished. I can now make the wooden board that is a necessary component of the circuit that we have to complete. Can I make the circuit directly at this point? No, I'm actually missing copper. I might actually have to go and set that stereotype thing back up again because I may not have made enough of it. We'll see. Let's go ahead and start crafting these boards. And it looks like I've only got 2 crushed stereotype. I think you may have to have 3 in order to smelt it. Let's see. If I put that in there, don't need that. What I need is some of this fuel. And pop that in there. It will not smelt. Okay, so I'm going to have to go and set up this thing again. And do my crystallizer to get some more stereotype because I didn't get enough. It's not that big a deal. This will get set up permanently very soon. Permanently meaning until I get something better. But it's going to run a lot. Let's go ahead and get that in there. Alright, I should be able to go ahead and tell it now to crush some more of this, and hopefully I'll have enough. Let's see. Hasn't quite done it yet. Still working on the board. Alright, there we go. We're starting to smelt some copper. A lot of micromanaging stuff by hand in the really early game here. It does get better pretty quickly. And one of the mods that I added, it's probably the cheatiest of them that I added, was Deadlock's compact loaders. I think that's it. That one will eliminate a lot of the need for inserters because it makes loaders that are relatively cheap and can fit in tight spaces. They can even filter. So really, it's the equivalent of having filter inserters from the very beginning, more or less. It works better in some ways and worse in others, but one of the important ways that it works better is it uses less power, because it uses no power at all, and that's probably the cheatiest aspect of it, because power is at such a premium in the early game. Nonetheless, that's I am going to use it. I think it's a pretty nice mod to have in this pack, and we'll still have plenty of power problems. That's not going to solve that. Okay, circuits. Can we make one? Yes, we can make a basic circuit board. And so it finished that research. The next research to do is wood processing. So we've got to set up green algae production. That one requires mineralized water, so we'll leave this set up. But I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. Well, let's go ahead and get some more of this stuff crafting. More fuel, because I am going to need it. I'll set up the algae farm again, and just hook it up there, because this requires mineralized water and carbon dioxide. You can rotate this to bring it up. We got mineralized water in it now. I'm going to need another liquefier. So I guess I'll kill all that. Now the second liquefier will be used to make carbon dioxide. And the carbon dioxide will go in here and feed the algae, I suppose. We can just make that from wood pellets. So there's a lot of making carbon dioxide from wood pellets that goes on in this pack, I'll say that. Alright, so this should get started. Alright. It's a little slow. And you have to have a lot of these things, and they're huge, and you've got to build all the land. So it's, but there we go. We have effectively finished that particular one. Now the next thing it wants us to do is to make an electromagnetism lab. That one should be easier, because I think we can just make it, and we should already have all the stuff. Yeah, so let's just craft that. And as soon as this crafts, we will have finished all of the introductory research chain. This also opens up all of the other science, because this allows you to make red science packs. So as soon as this gets done, I'm going to go ahead, and we just did it. So I'm going to go ahead at this point and end the episode so that it doesn't run too long. I'll probably have another one up pretty soon. But let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.